Hello guys, how are you? I am back with another episode. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and the message comes from our email address, and the message reads like this. Hi, how are you? Recently I came across your channel and I just saw it being recommended in my feed, so I decided to watch just one episode. The episode that I watched, it had a lot of graphics and imagery, and I was hooked. After a few episodes, I decided to subscribe to your channel. I never thought that I'll end up sharing my own story with you, but here we go. I am a Black American who got involved in the world of con artists. I was born into a world of shadows and illusion. I'll call myself Jack, and for the better part of my life, I was just a conman. I learned the art of deception from a young age, observing this from my father, who was a master of manipulation himself. Even my mother, she is the one who taught me how to shoplift. When I was still young, I still remember that my father would send me to the shops to buy bread, but unlike other fathers, whenever he would send me to the shops, he would not give me money. He would just say, "Son, can you go to the shops and buy me bread? And if you return with no bread and milk, your father will beat the hell out of you." In our neighborhood, there was this certain shop that was by the corner. The owner of that shop was a short-sighted Chinese old man, so I knew that if I go to his shop, there was this particular corner in his shop whereby he will not be able to see you. So what I used to do is I'll grab a loaf of bread and some milk. I would then pack that loaf of bread and milk underneath my hooded jacket. Sometimes that Chinaman would pull out his gun on me and he would chase me out of his shop. But returning back home to my dad without bread or milk was not an option for me. It was a matter of my father punching me or robbing that Chinaman, and always I would choose to steal from that Chinaman. My mother's grandma was a well-known voodoo priestess. She was feared back in the days because she used to help a lot of gangsters with her voodoo powers, especially those who were in the business of transporting white powder. She was respected by a lot of cartels, but one night my mom told me that she got shot after she had placed a curse on one of the cartel bosses who had refused to pay her, and grandma was shot by one of the gang members. So my father was a master manipulator and my mom also was a con woman. It was a skill that was passed through generations, a dark legacy even today that I cannot escape. I can safely say that the prison system is what taught me to become a man, because I was in and out of prison. There were days whereby I'll be released, maybe on parole or something then, but when I'll be out in the world, I would feel so lonely, so much that I would wish that someone would just arrest me and take me back to prison. My life was just like that. I graduated as a conman whilst I was in prison. When I was finally released, that is when I decided to become a fully fledged conman. My early cons were small-time stuff like card tricks, sleight of hand, and the occasional petty theft here and there. But as I grew older, I realized the power of persuasion. I could convince anyone of anything. I could become whoever they wanted me to be. I pretended as if I was a successful businessman, and if you believed any of my lies, you would live to regret it. After I would have conned you all of your money, and so I embraced the life of a professional con artist, drifting from city to city, leaving a trail of broken trust in my wake. My reputation grew, and so did the stakes. I became like a chameleon, changing my identity as easily as changing clothes. From corporate swindles to romance scams, I had done it all. The thrill of the con was so intoxicating. The rush of outsmarting my targets were just irresistible. I was addicted to this game. But one evening, that is when I met this woman that I would call Sarah. She is the one who ended up changing my life. She was different, a mark like no other. Her eyes held a wisdom that saw through my facade. For the first time, I felt seen, truly seen. As we spent time together, I couldn't bring myself to deceive her. I began to question the life that I had chosen. Sarah was like a beacon of light in my otherwise dark world. She believed that I could be changed, in the possibility of change. That is what she believed in. She didn't judge me for my past, but rather encouraged me to confront it. I started small, returning stolen items and apologizing to those that I could apologize to, and there were some that I couldn't apologize to, like the cartels and stuff. The path to redemption was fraught with challenges, like old associates didn't take kindly to my change of heart. Everyone thought that I was now a snitch. I still remember that there was a time that I was hunted. They thought that I would end up snitching on them, and I found myself in dangerous situations. But that woman, she stood by my side. Her unwavering support gave me the strength to persevere. As time passed by, I began using my skills for good. I helped the elderly protect themselves, especially from scams. I volunteered at local charities. I even tried to start a support group for former con artists who were seeking redemption as I was. But unfortunately, we were at this convention when one of our group members was just murdered at this other motel. When one of our group members, who was a former con artist, was just murdered in a motel, I knew that out there was something that was bigger that didn't want me to expose most of the stuff that I was exposing. So I took a step back. Then I started working on my own self. Each step brought me closer to the person that I wanted to be. One day, an old partner from my conning days resurfaced seeking revenge. He threatened to expose my past to the world. Instead of running, I decided to confront him. With the help of the police, we dismantled the criminal network that I had once been a part of. With my past behind me, I found a new purpose in life. Me and Sarah, we got married, and we stayed as a family together. I have tried to use my knowledge of cons to teach people how to protect themselves from deception. I became a counselor for mostly troubled youth from my neighborhood that I grew up in, guiding them away from the path that I had once walked. Looking back on my life, I am reminded of the person that I used to be. I was a conman, a master of deception, but I am also reminded of the person I chose to become, a man who decided to choose redemption, and I tried to use the skills to help others, and some of them that I have helped who discovered that even in the darkest of their hearts there can be a glimmer of light. And this is my own story. Different it might be, but I want you to share with your listeners on your channel. I am one of your regular listeners now. I am learning a lot about this African culture, even though some of the stuff I don't understand. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was forwarded to me by one of our admins. Please let us talk about this issue in the comment section.